Hey everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood Levi, and it's still time to review Justice League, right? Like it has been several weeks since it came out. Well anyways, I have things to say about it, so I'm just gonna review it. We good? Now, I thought Justice League was good. Like, I had to weigh what I didn't like with what I enjoyed about it, and I'll even out to good. Not bad, not even really good, just good. And now, what I'm going to do with this review, and kind of all of my reviews going forward, is to take what I didn't like and kind of get it over with. Now, what I didn't like about it is basically a lot of the DC EU stuff. Like, the fact that Gotham and Metropolis are walking distance from each other is still, like, really weird to me. It kind of shows that the screenwriters for Batman v Superman had, like, really wonky priorities. Like, it prioritizes how does Batman get to Metropolis so fast, as opposed to, like, respect for the two separate cities. More so for Gotham, turning it into basically a suburb of Metropolis, when it's really one of the most iconic fictional cities in fiction, if that makes sense. That and the fact that no DCEU movie that has Batman and Superman can ignore the fact that BVS and Man of Steel happened. But luckily there's a lot more stuff that I did like about it. There's the fact that it felt like just the right length. Like, by the time it was wrapping up, you're thinking, well, we could get more, and I wouldn't mind it, but I'm perfectly glad with the amount that we got. If that makes sense. Then there's the fact that they kind of took risks with the characters, which in their past movies I didn't quite agree with, but they actually did pretty well. For example, while I was watching, I kind of compared Momoa's version of Aquaman to a biker bro. This kind of gruff, but super friendly and kind of eager to fight air about him. But then I realized after the fact that there's a lot more like deep-sea fishermen, like people on Deadliest Catch. But in any other interpretation of Aquaman, he has this kind of regal, kingly air about him. So when he doesn't know the fact that he's Atlantean, just that he has these powers, you're not gonna get that kind of Your Highness vibe from him. But instead, this very down-to-earth fisherman bro. And then there was their interpretation of The Flash, which was kind of like a very pleasant surprise. Now, I love Ezra Miller. He's fantastic. I feel like he's one of the handful of actors that could make this kind of character work. And this character does work. When you have the kind of emotional baggage that Barry does, along with the Speed Force making your brain run a light year per hour, you're gonna come out the other side kind of unusual. You won't understand the regular person, and kind of your brain will start to go tons of different places. But the biggest surprise, in my opinion, among these alternate takes were Cyborg. Because in most interpretations, like any version, like either Teen Titans cartoon or I don't know if there are any of the anime movie season or anything, but he always comes across as like this kind of like a college football player, that kind of jock bro party dude. This kind of party dude. But in this movie, he's very cold and calculated, very introspective, which makes a lot of sense because instead of just Star Lab cybernetics, he also has this piece of ancient alien technology in him. So when you feel like this completely unknown thing has infiltrated your body and mind, you're gonna be kind of quiet and brooding. And the fact that this kind of cool and calculated makes so much sense for the character, the booyah that he says at the end of the climactic battle, in your everyday interpretation of Cyborg, that makes perfect sense. But in this movie is extremely forced. When I said that I was going to see the movie when I did, my friend Brian, who's on YouTube as Beat Things and he's also on Twitter, he warned me that that definitely feels like it was made by two different people. For those of you who don't know, in the middle of, I believe it was in the middle of post-production, Zack Snyder had a terribly tragic family emergency, and so he obviously had to take off his work for a while. And so Joss Whedon stepped in to do the rest of post-production and wound up doing some reshoots. And so while there wasn't a lot of Snyder's to make these iconic shots with the photo of John Kent dipping into the water, of the troop carrier doors falling and seeing them lined up, those shots actively attempt to be iconic. Meanwhile, you have these little brushes of Whedon, where, like, especially some of the later dialogue between Bruce and Barry, this kind of, like, irreverence towards the gravity of the situation, which is a very pretentious way of putting it, but, like, this kind of nonchalant attitude in which is weird when you just juxtapose it to the kind of seriousness of the situation. But the best thing that I think that, to my knowledge, anyone has said about it is Scott Nicewander, who runs NerdSync Productions, who's like super smart, makes a lot of great comic book and superhero content. You should definitely check him out. I'll put a card there and link him in the description. He talks about how the opening shot is of... You can tell it was taken during the reshoots because Henry Cavill had a mustache they had to keep on because he was in the middle of shooting another movie. So they had to do CGI the entire lower half of his face. That kind of dissonance in that kind of uncanny valley is a bit of a microcosm for the movie itself. It's Justice League, but not really. If before Man of Steel, you went up to a DC fan and said, what would a Justice League movie be like? And depending on how much they thought about it, they would describe it to you, and a lot of those things in that description would be in this movie, due to things like the two directors and their extended universe so far being what it is. It's just not quite what the DC fan would have told you. Thanks for watching the review. It's kind of a quick one. I'll definitely do some more in-depth stuff about other movies or books or whatever in the future. If you enjoyed the video, press like. If you want to see more, press subscribe. And until then, have a lovely day.